so you can see. تعالوا نقول لحن صغير على ما الناس تيجي. Have mercy, have mercy, have mercy upon us, O God, the Father, the Pantocrator, have mercy, have mercy.
Have mercy upon us, O God, our Savior. Have mercy. Have mercy.
Have mercy upon us, O God, and have mercy, Lord, have mercy.
Jenainan ibnot
Teviot bibantokrator Jenainan
Jenainan Jenainan ibnot
Ben Sotir
Jenainan Jenainan
and Jenainan evnot Nainan Kyrie eleison. So we're glad that today we have Dr. Sama to be our lecturer today. I know Samah for years now, since he came here to the church. He's a blessing to our church and full of knowledge and wisdom and a good teacher. Okay? He gave us course last class of last year, and a lot of lecture was very beneficial because they are touching the kind of the spiritual and the psychology and the application to the kid at the same time. So it makes it between many things. Okay. Dr. Samah, this is area of expertise. He will give us course along the 2 years of this class, and today will be the first one in this year's. Actually, Irene, also his wife, is a blessed servant in the church, and she will alternate with him giving us this course. Okay. Thank you, Samah, for.
Thank you. I guess not good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Today I'll talk about gratitude and contentment. And is that it? Okay. So one may ask, why do we need to talk about gratitude and contentment? This sounds like more something that you may learn at school about in psychology, but like, why do we need to care about that here at church? I mean, is that really an important topic? This is not a, like, behavioral health or psychology kind of lecture. This is a pre-service meeting. I mean, any idea why this could be important for you? Because really the goal at this point is that we want to make sure that you're set up for success when you serve, like, at church, regardless of like where your service is going to be. So that's the focus of why we pick the talks that we're going to talk about. So why worry about this? Why talk about gratitude and contentment? Gratitude, yeah. Being grateful, like Thanksgiving, being grateful to, like, and being content.
Well, because as servants we have to be humble, and we have to be like, we have to love the little things in a way. Like, we can't just like be only okay with the best and most high-end things. We have to be grateful and know where everything comes from. I don't know. It's just like we need to be humble.
Okay,
and
so
like kind people.
As servants, it's an important virtue for servants. How about for the people that you teach? Let's say you teach like 3rd grade. Why would it be important for you to help the kids, regardless of 1st grade all the way to 12th grade? Why is gratitude and contentment? Why is it important?
I think, not to be like blunt like this, but we don't want them to be spoiled. So I think that we just have to, teach them that it's good to be grateful for things, because they should be grateful for things.
Okay, but is this our issue as servants, or is this their parents' issue to not be spoiled?
I think it's both. I think that we are obligated to help them be the best person they can be, along with their parents. I think that when they come, we have to do our best.
Okay, that sounds good. And something that is different now about what we focus on. In the past, the focus was on knowledge, like church history, like various aspects related to church knowledge, which are still very important, and like our faith, understanding our faith. But now we've learned to focus more and more on other things, because really part of it is understanding is why we serve. I mean, do you serve just to give a lesson? Do you serve to put together a retreat? Do you serve to teach people how to sing in choir or like hymns? Do we serve to set up activities and entertain people, or do we serve for another reason?
I think that we serve to get closer with God and to help others be the best people that they can be, and be the closest they can be with God at the same time.
Right. So really everything I talked about is more like a tool and a means to an end. And the end is none of the things that we talked about. It's not about just coming to church. There is more to it than that. Really, at the end, like what we want is that for every one of us, for all the servants, and for everyone that we serve, is to have a relationship with God, okay? And to have a relationship that changed our behavior, that changed the way we see the world and the way we interact with the world. So this is ideally what we want to see in everyone at church, whether it's a servant or like someone being served. So that's why it becomes very important to go beyond just knowledge. I mean, again, knowledge is very important, okay? But we have to think about the person as a person, about their challenges and their struggles, because if we don't address these issues, then whatever we teach them will become like not very important, or will not change their their attitude and relationship with God and behavior. So that's why it's important to understand the people that we serve, understand what possibly they may be struggling with, because this would allow us to be effective servants in terms of developing really a relationship with God and kind of breaking barriers that would that could slow down that relationship, and and as a result of that, hopefully change basically their lives and the way they do things. And so one of those things is gratitude, and that we want to talk about. And just a few statistics. I like to look at numbers. So we live in one of the most prosperous and one of the richest countries in the world, if not the most the richest country of the world with the best quality of life. Okay, and they did a poll asking people. Again, this is not a developing country. Okay, how many of them were content? How many of them were happy with what they have in their life? Okay, and you see the numbers here. I know this font is a little bit too small, but guess how many answered that they were content? It's here, so you don't actually have to guess. You just need to read. Like 38%. Okay, so 38% depends on how you look at it. Okay, think about it for yourself. Are you content? Are you a happy person? Do you feel that like what you have is really is really fulfilling and makes you grateful for life, and that you really got it and you're really winning in life? Okay, I mean, at least based on the statistics, if we're 10 people here, 4 people will say they're content and 6 people will say they're not, which is crazy, because probably life could not get any better. That's than life in the U.S. I mean, that's why people immigrate. That's why your parents or you immigrated in search for a better life. And people make so many sacrifices when they immigrate, and even from Europe people come here. Okay, so it must be really something that is worth it, kind of. But these numbers tell us maybe not. I mean, maybe really at the end of the day, this is 6 people are not out of 10 are not content.
I have a question, if that's okay. Is this?
Yeah, because some people may be online so that they can hear you.
Oh, okay, I have a question. So, I know that we're supposed to be grateful for what we have, but where is it cross a point where wanting more means we're not grateful? Because I think it's, as humans, we strive to do more and we push ourselves to do more things. I don't think that's a bad thing. But when does it become we're not being humble, we're not being grateful?
Very good question. Actually, that's a very important question, and we'll touch upon that point. Yeah. So, no, that's good. That's actually a good segue into talking about it when we get to it. So this is another piece of statistics from a survey. You can see it here on the screen, looking at but I can tell you all you need to do is just to see the curves here. And so this is basically the top curve is 10th graders. The lowest curve, the dark purple curve is, the top curve is 12th graders, and then the blue one is 8th graders, and the dark purple is 10th graders, okay? And it basically looks at several surveys, looks at how people rate their happiness over time. So it started in the 1990s and ended in about 2007, and you would think that life is getting better with time for everyone. I mean, we have more technology now. A lot of things are easier than they used to be. communication. I mean, we all like have cell phones, and but actually, what we're seeing here is that it like has been in the last few decades actually trending down. That it is that people with time are less happy, less content, and which does not make sense, because if you look at numbers, people make more money now overall as the level of the whole country. People have more technology and more things to do, but they're getting less content and less happy with time. And the survey, the same survey, actually asked people about like what they do about activities. Like that was for 12th graders, and asked them about hours that they spent online doing things. Again, look, we didn't have like video games, and we didn't have so many things that are tools that possibly would make people happier now. And what you can see is that the one on the left says online, like so on average people spend about 3 hours online, about 1.5 hours gaming, texting, social media. This definitely has increased significantly with time. Looking at everything together, what we've seen here is that as internet hours have gone up, what we're seeing is just general trends, is that like sleep, in-person interactions, and happiness went down. So basically, compared to 20 or 30 years ago, there have been overall some trends that are different. Is we're spending more time on the internet, we're sleeping less, we're talking to people less, and like there is less, like we're less happy overall. And so this here showed is a graph that looked at various aspects of our life, more or less the ones that we talked about, and looked at things that have been associated with people being more content and more grateful, and people being less content and grateful. Things that they quoted here. So in the top is basically going to the right. That means these are things that help people be or were associated with people being more happy. And this is, by the way, this is not a Christian survey, okay? What they saw here, that actually those who get enough sleep, those who do sports, those who spend more time with people, those who do volunteer work, do go to movies with others, actually go like those who participate in religious surveys, services are happier, and a bunch of those who go to music concerts, do homework, believe it or not, that work associated with happiness. A lot of things that based on this that are technology based, video chat, texting, like a lot of time texting, leisure time alone, social media, computer games, internet, listening to music alone was associated with less happiness. Again, there may be exceptions. This may not apply to everyone, but generally speaking, the trend that we're seeing is that we're spending more time alone, okay, more time on technology, less time with people, okay, and getting less happy. So this is the and getting just less content with life. I mean, when we talk about being content or being grateful, kind of we ask, what does that mean? So one definition that I found is basically to appreciate and acknowledge a various aspect of life, and gratitude turns what little you have into abundance. Okay, I like that one better, turning what little we have into abundance. Why do I say that? Is that no one has everything, okay? And different people will have like certain things and not have others. So what we have typically does not determine how content and grateful we are, but our attitude towards what we have is what determines that. So again, why again are we doing this? So for this is probably the most one of the most important slides that I have is why do we care about gratitude? Because gratitude is a good test of our relationship with God. You guys remember what a litmus test is? For acid versus base, you know, like that, you stick, right? So this is, right, so this is a litmus test, gratitude, okay, for you, for the people that you serve, that is an indicator of the relationship with God. Because like I said, I mean, most people have good things in their lives and have not so good things in their lives. If you look at just material things, okay? And really, as what we're gonna talk about in the next kind of few minutes, what determines how grateful you are is basically your relationship with God, because it has the potential to change how you see the things around you, and in a way that would make you content and make you grateful. An extreme example of this is in Acts 16:25. We all know Paul and Silas. So that basically in that a passage in the Bible, at midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God. Were they happy or not happy? Most likely, if they were like singing hymns, happy. Okay. So you think of a happy, like, you know, if I stop there, you'd think about happy surroundings, happy situation, like everyone is happy, like, you know, maybe they're spending time with family, friends, maybe they're at church, but where were they? Okay, that's the second part. And the prisoners were listening to them, so they were actually in jail. Okay, and I can tell you, Roman jails were no fun. I mean, Roman jails, people got tortured like big time, but in the most unhappy place, they were happy. Why? Is because their perspective is very different. Their perspective is now, and their standards that they were looking at are very different than what we're used to now. Is, to your point, if you're trying to be ambitious, is that bad or not? But at least in this example, they didn't care about being like, you know, a promotion, and again, not that this is bad, or didn't care about their career, because all they knew is that they were filled with God, okay, and nothing mattered beyond that, okay? That being in a place where they could get tortured, where there is a lot of unknowns and probably filthy, definitely no bathrooms and all that, did not make them disgruntled or complain. Do I expect that from you or from me? No, but I just wanted to show an example of, like, to highlight kind of just an extreme example of what I'm thinking, that this is, I guess, the ideal situation, is that really nothing would bother you, okay? Because it's a matter of priorities. Like, you know, have you seen that thing? I know some people have done it in, like in Sunday school, like that jar when you fill it with big rocks versus small rocks, kind of, and like, so like here, their big thing in their life is that, like, they had a very close relationship with God. They were filled with the Holy Spirit, so nothing else mattered. I mean, you know, they weren't worried. They were not worried about getting killed, getting, like, you know, what could happen to them, because they had what they needed. So in the ideal situation, this would be us. In the ideal situation, this would be what we would be getting the people that we serve to. Okay, I said ideal because that's very hard, okay? But this is just kind of, again, the extreme or ideal situation. Is that, and because one meditation I heard that I really liked, is, you know, when they had the sermon, when Jesus gave the sermon on the mount, where was it? Was on a mountain, right? Right? And like, people were in a situation where, like, thousands of people saw Jesus right in front of them. They were on the mountain. Their villages and where they came were down below the mountain, were very small. Nothing mattered there, okay? Everything was small. and Jesus was big in front of their eyes, like, you know, at the peak of the mountain. So ideally, this is the life we want to live. This is the life we want the people that we serve to live, where their relationship with God, okay, and their focus on God, and their focus on the Bible, and their focus on the priorities of the Bible are the main things that matter. And then as a result of that, other things will matter much, much, much less. And as a result of that, we'll be much more content with what we have, regardless of what we have. So to your point, like, you know, challenges to being content, is being content is hard in our society. I mean, if 60% are not content, I mean, these 60% are not bad people. It's just that's the nature now of our society, is that the way things work, it's very easy to not get content, to not be content. Like, so for example, like things like, you know, be the best you can be, like looking at social media. You know, they say in the past, people used to compare themselves to their neighbors, or like, you know, other kids at school, but now you're comparing yourself to the whole world, kind of in every aspect. If you're good at singing, there's going to be someone amazing that you could see that kind of like make you feel like worse about like your performance. So we just see these images, and there's focus. Everyone needs to look better, get stronger, richer, cooler, or whatever. So it just that what has been shown is that with the exposure that we have to social media, it's just you can never win. It's just there is always someone that will demonstrate that what you're doing is not enough, that what you have is not enough. So there is a clear, and I'm sure you've heard that from school, clear connection between time we spend on social media and being content and being grateful, and it's a big inversely proportional relationship. And part of that is expectations at school, at sports, and like in any other activity, that now society has these expectations that we need to be not here, that we need to be there, and if you're here, this is not good. And that's one of the reasons why now many like kids that's like at church and their parents struggle with being content and being grateful. It's just that we live obviously in society. We learn what society does, and again, there is so many good things about society, but there is things that we should be careful with, and this is one of them, is that it's good to be ambitious, it's good to want more, it's good to work hard for a goal, but it's also good to set priorities, okay? You know, they did a survey asking people at church for where God stands on their priority list of top 10 things. Okay, think for yourself. Where would God stand in your, or like, you know, in your priorities, like for real, kind of like if you really had to think. Okay, I hope it's not number 10. Okay, for many people it may be number 5 or so. Like, you know, in like some people may have to say, like, really, if they're honest to themselves, grades, work, family. But the reality is, again, if we're talking about ideal situation, it should be number 1 for everyone, right? I mean, based on the teachings of the Bible, that, I mean, if God created us and like we belong to God, and God made us, and everything in us is because of God, and every good thing in our life is from God, it should always be number 1, and number 2 is the wrong answer. But that's not typically what happens. It's like, for most people, it's somewhere like come to church. It's really, if we want to be honest, it's going to be number 2 to 5, somewhere like that. And that's probably one of the reasons we are less content, is because other things matter more. I'm not saying other things are not important, okay? But really, what we want to foster in the people that we serve, and we want to foster this in ourselves first, is that we want to keep moving God up, okay? Maybe, to be realistic, not everyone, because it's just part of our instincts that we have to take care of things in our life. It's very hard to really live a life where God is number 1. I mean, it should be like that, okay? But God knows us, and God knows our weaknesses and our iniquities. I'd say what we really want to ask for as Sunday school servants, as people that want to follow God, is that the goal is to move God up on that list, okay? From number 2 to number 1, from number 3 to number 2, from number 5 to number 4. Each person, again, look, God accepts everyone, and each person has their weaknesses and challenges, okay? It's very hard if you're in middle school or high school for friends not to be an important determinant of how you think of yourself, your relationship with like people at school and how they see how you think of yourself. But if you slowly focus on that, I don't care about, I want to teach myself not to care about that. I want to like really think about how God views me, okay? What do I mean to God? The perspective changes and people become less important. And this is kind of part of what we're trying to do, is that really that's when, like again, being content becomes a litmus test of our relationship to God. Like for people where God is number 10 on the list, other things are going to determine how how content we are. The way society works, it's very hard to win, like it's like, if you're in music, you have to be Taylor Swift. If you're in whatever, like sports, you have to be really good. It's very hard to be content, and this is what we see from the survey. This is science. This is not, information that we're giving you from church. This is unbiased information that most people are getting less content. But the more we push God up on our list, the more we're going to be content. And that's why it's, like I said, it's a litmus test, how content we are and how grateful we are of our relationship with God. And that's why what we want for you, while working on it for yourself, is also to work on it for the people that you serve, regardless of where you serve, whether it's on a retreat, whether it's selling something at church, whether it's in Sunday school, in choir, hymns, that we want to help people move up like God on their priority list, and as a result of that, they're going to be more content, because with God, you're always a winner. Because we have so many, like in the Bible, so many affirmations about how God sees us. Okay, so we know how God values us, but we struggle with problems with gratitude and contentment when we start looking for the world around us to see how it values us. And that's very hard. So speaking of God's view, and just one of many examples in James 1 verse 2, my brethren, count it all joy when you fall into the various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. That God changes the way we look at things. In God's view, that actually even if things are not going well, even if you go for your, you want to get a certain position kind of, or get into a certain college, and if it doesn't work, that this is still God working with you. God maybe changing your focus on Him, that maybe great things are going to come out of that. So you start seeing problems as maybe just blessings in life. And that's probably, if I would guess, that Paul and Silas, that's what they were thinking in prison. Hey, we're in a prison, that's a blessing for us. The prisoners could see them, could see their faith, that this was actually a happy moment for them, rather than a time when they were stressed out and in pain. So this could be us, but I wouldn't expect from us that we'll go from 0 to 100 in no time. It's not like we're gonna think about it and talk about it and we're all gonna be perfect. But again, it's something that we all need to work on. And basically, God's solution is one of the again, one of many verses in Philippians chapter 4 verse 6. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Is that you see that it's a very different, where kind of the way of the Bible from the way that we're used to. We're used to just work hard. If you if you work hard and you don't get what you need, then just work harder. just try harder, try more, um, and then you'll get what you want, and that the sky is the limit to your dreams. I mean, good to work hard and everything, but it's very different from like kind of the the formula that the Bible is giving us here. So just some practical things in terms of like mostly like Sunday school and mostly dealing with kids. And I know some of them are easier like said than done, but it is helpful to reduce our use of social media. I know kind of most likely anyone that hears that like high school, really any age over 6th grade now, it would be like, oh no, another person talking about social media and technology and like our use of cell phones. But it is true. It has been shown in many psychology studies. The more we use social media, the less happy, less content, less grateful we get, the harder our life is. So it's something that we need to work on. I need to work on this, and something that we need to focus on in our classrooms as well, if we are serving in a classroom. And part of this is that we need to model that behavior ourselves, like at church, that we need to train ourselves to use less social media. I know it's easier said than done, like I said that before, but it's something that we need to work on, because this is basically this is a force that pulls us down in many different ways. So model the use and then discuss expectations of healthy use of social media. And actually, you guys probably being younger than like the more senior servants would do a better job at that, because you're in that world more than anyone else. And then another practical thing is that, I mean, our church is very diverse. Parents come from many different walks of life. Many times, and technology has changed so much. I think of myself as tech savvy, but I feel now there's so much that I don't know. Is that ideally we should teach parents themselves on how to manage like technology for their kids, because again, I think the younger servants are probably in a good position to know these things more than the more senior servants. Like I speak for myself, I feel like there is so much now that I don't know compared to like 10 years ago. And then along the same lines, encourage in-person activities. I know it's becoming more and more awkward for people to be with other people, for kids to be with other kids. Like I can tell you, for my kids, it's very hard if they're not comfortable, very comfortable with other kids, to tell them, hey, you're just going to be in a place where there's other people your age, and you're actually going to have to have fun together. That this is very hard. Like most people are now used to being with people that they're comfortable with, and that's why we're all becoming more and more isolated. There's so many negative things about about isolation, including we don't learn from each other, but we want to, as servants, encourage in-person activities. We want to encourage a community. We want to encourage fellowship. This is very important. Again, this is one of the things that has been flagged as something that makes people happy, that we're less and less used to. Like now, I can see a lot of people do, including my kids, activities and whatever, and sports and other things, or and spend less time with with in-person activities, and this is a reason to be isolated and to feel less happy and less content. So again, as a servant, always remember that not being content is more a focus on me, on what I don't have, and less of and a focus on other people and comparisons with other people, and less of a focus on God, God's love, sacrifice, and gifts. I'll end with something that St. John Chrysostom said, one of the church fathers. He said that he said many like hundreds of years ago, but again was the same like issue. Happiness can only be achieved by looking inward and learning to enjoy whatever life has, and this requires transforming greed into gratitude. So just about not focusing on what I want, what I need, what I don't have, but like focusing less on that is one of the ways to help people be more content and more grateful. Do you think that makes sense, or do you think that's a pie in the sky that is not really realistic? Like what we talked about. Uh-huh.
How do you do that without like making sure you're not being greedy, if that makes sense?
Okay, so you want to do more things.
It's
How
like-
do I do that without being greedy? Actually, we want you to do more things. That's fine. And there's nothing wrong with doing more things, of the things that you like, the things that you're passionate about, whether it's work, studies, extracurricular activities. But the question is, or the focus is, what are these things in your priority list of things? Where do they stand? Okay, meaning that, you know, if as an example, if I say my work, okay, I want to be very successful at work, and I want to do more things and achieve more and be more ambitious, okay, or school or whatever, like you can think of an example for yourself, okay? Nothing wrong with that. That's maybe good in many ways. But if my whole life is focusing on this, and this is what is the source of happiness and being content and being grateful is just that thing, then that will most likely backfire, okay? But if still God is number one for me, okay, and whatever thing I care about is a lower priority, maybe still a high priority. I'm not saying it wouldn't be important. It would be still a high priority, but still my focus is on God. My focus is on my relationship with God. That's the right thing. I'll give you an example, like silly example, but just kind of I thought about it from our day-to-day life. Like you may not know the person. His name is actually, you can look him up. It's kind of like he is like a very nice guy. He's a football player named Tim Tebow. Has anyone lived? So he won an award and won the Heisman Trophy for being the best college football player that's very competitive, and then played professional. And so he was in a very competitive environment, very, very competitive. You have to work very, very hard. But he was a very strong Christian, and what he always thought, he said that in an interview, I want people to, when they look at me, to think of me not as a football player, to think of me as a Christian. That this is number one, again from a great football player, that he still saw himself as a Christian before he was a football player. Okay, and so this is the example of what ideally all of us would be, that whatever we're working on would work on it, would be important, but we would have bigger priorities, which is God and our relationship with God.
So as long as our priority is our relationship with God, what we like, no matter what we do, it's okay to want to do more things as long as we still are focused on God. Is that what you're trying to say?
Generally speaking, yes. I mean, obviously, there is a lot of details involved. Am I right? But in general, yes.
Nothing will fill you except if it comes from God. You will not be satisfied if you have all the money of the whole world, all the success, all the fame. You will be the most famous one in the world. This one, still something will be lacking. And you have many examples in the world. You have many famous people who feels unsatisfied. Very well known, very rich people, very successful scientists, and very successful people in industry, in economy, in medicine, but if there is no relation with God, nothing will fill up. So there is nothing wrong with ambition. Gratitude does not mean you don't have ambitions, you stay as it is. No. In spiritual life, as Dr. Mamdouh said maybe yesterday, in spiritual life, there is nothing called standstill. It's either you're growing or you're decreasing. When you grow in your spiritual life, it will be easy for you to be content. When your relation with God is very good, everything you have, you will be content for. But if you don't have a good relation with life, with God, whatever you have, you will still have unless content. So that's the key. That's the key. Do whatever you want in your life, but make it for the glory of God. So do you think that, for example, do you know Matthew? Matthew was a tax collector. So do you think it was easy for him to leave this tax collection? But he was content that he get rid of this tax collection, and also for Zacchaeus, giving fourfold for the people he take by faults from. He might be very poor now, but he was so content. So do everything you want for the sake of God, then you will be easy to be content, and also this will help you to succeed. And also you will see God in the times of unfavorable outcomes. If you didn't reach a success, you will not be very sad, you will not be very angry by what happened. So I believe that's the secret of it. You do whatever, but just put it through God.
And along the same lines, this is not what we're talking about today, but we may have talked about that before. The church is a body, needs different talents, different people that do different things, kind of, okay, and that's why being successful in something is not something that is being discouraged, being really good at something, or anything outside of the church is not discouraged by the church. Again, as long as you have your priorities straight.
Now, Dr. Ihab will show us the application, and give me a second. Ihab,
On Canvas, you will have one file called the activity for today. When you open it, you will find this Word file. We are speaking about what Dr. Sam have told us, and luckily we are that today was the treasure, the Sunday of treasure. So the gospel of today was asking you, where's your heart? Your heart is where your treasure, and your treasure is all your ambition or your success, or if you are gratitude, if you have gratitude, if you are content of what you have, your heart will be there. So we would like you to share with Dr. Sam and Dr. Mamdouh the following. The first one is, in 1 minute, share with us something you are grateful for. It can be a person, or a personal achievement, or a challenging situation where you found strength, and or simple everyday blessing. So just remember or reflect on how you acknowledge these aspects of your contentment to the relation with God. I give you some hints, but you can go out the box of this. The hint is like you may think about something that make you feel peaceful, or you may now search your phone for a photo of someone who makes you smile, or someone who make a difference in your week or your life, or something in the nature, or a biblical verse, or a biblical event, or a book quote that you know which changed a little of you, which at least make you smile. So you are so grateful for this. If those people or these events or these things were not in your life, it will be different. So think about it. Think about it. And if you would like to share with us, you can share with us. And then try to connect how is this related to your relation with God, and how is this helping you with it. That's what you will do with your kids. You will ask them to remember good things, to be grateful, to think about contentment, and to reflect this to their relation with God. Your mom.
we'll conclude with answering 5-6 questions quickly on the screen. Until you have get these questions, I'd like to mention an example of how the church is expressing that she is always thankful to God. Every prayer, we start in the church. We start with what you call Thanksgiving prayer. Okay, so I understand that is good during liturgy. Nice, we are thankful because God gave us His blood and His body. In crowning, in wedding, that's fine. We are happy that there is kind of good event. But what we say that the church is starting Thanksgiving prayer during funeral, right? So people have funeral, have a body here, and we still thanking God for His gifts, okay? Because we always accept what God gives us. So you have question. This is not a quiz. It's just to remind ourselves, okay? So don't worry about if you know the answer or not. We will read the question quickly and read the answers because people maybe online cannot see the screen. And then if anybody know the answer,
So, Kermina, I asked about the activities that we do it because we are lacking of time. So you can, if you are willing to share who or what makes you feeling gratitude or content, you can just write a reply to the activity. Okay. So we have the first question. Okay, I read it. Okay, I'm asking about, or we asking about, what is the biblical example of gratitude despite of adversity mentioned in the presentation. So Dr. Sameh gives us two, where in what. So can you? So we have Job praising God in his trial. If Dr. Mumtaz spoke about that, this is a good example, but I don't know if he mentioned this or not. Moses at the Red Sea. So he felt like Pharaoh is behind and the seas in front. Paul and Silas praying in the prison, and David writing the Psalms. Which one was mentioned in the presentation?
I think it's C.
Yes, it is C. Paul and Silas. Is that correct? Yes. So, Persine and Miriam also, what does the presentation suggest as... Okay. What does the presentation suggest as a major societal challenge to contentment?
I think it's also C.
C is the social media one. Although all of these things can make you having less gratitude, but nowadays, as Dr. Sameh said, that being alone in your phone and having less relationships is a really challenge. All of them are correct. All of them are correct, but I'm speaking about the presentation itself. If there is a quiz for an exam or something, you may answer any of these, it will be correct. But I'm speaking about if you are concentrating with the speaker or not. How can we define contentment? B, which is being free from. Okay, is that correct?
can we read everyone and the answers
Okay.
for other people? So we'll read again the question and the answers because people cannot see the screen.
No, Persine, please go ahead. Please read the question and the answers and choose one. Because we have some people listening, just listening to us.
So read the question and
Yes, please read the
Okay.
question and the answers.
how can we define contentment? Achieving all your personal goals, being free from care because of satisfaction with what is already one's own, gaining wealth and fame, and never facing difficulties.
So it is
B.
being free
Yeah.
from care because of satisfaction with what we already own. Okay. So question number 4. So if we can read it for the people who are listening to us.
What is the role of servant in fostering an environment of contentment as discussed in the presentation? To encourage competition among peers, to promote materialistic values, to focus only on academic achievements, to model responsible behavior and set healthy boundaries around technology use.
Which one do you think? It's mentioned.
This is
because-
obviously the hardest one, D.
Dr. Sameh, do you have any comment here? Yeah, I'm trying to review the main points Dr. Sameh spoke about it. So please remember that you are a role model to your kids.
I really hope
And
the
we
exam is
have
this easy.
number 5. So could you please read it and try to.
What sacramental practice is key to experiencing true contentment? A. Frequent confession. B. Baptism. C. Partaking in the Eucharist. Or D. Reading the Holy Bible daily. I feel like it's all of them.
Yes.
Like-
but if you choose one, so it's from the name, it has something related to thanksgiving, gratitude, contentment. Which one? It's a sacrament of the church.
C, partaking in the Eucharist.
Yes, the Eucharist itself سر الإفخارستية هو سر الشكر. سامح؟ أي comment? We have okay. دكتور ممدوح, would you explain this? ليه سر الإفخارستية هو سر الشكر؟
Yes. The name of the sacrament is the sacrament of thanksgiving. Okay. We thank God because He gave us His the New Testament, and He gave us His body and His blood. So we are very thankful for salvation He gave to us and His body and blood. Okay.
So we have two questions more. What's the name?
What does Philippians 4:11-13 teach us about contentment?
If you remember it.
That we should
Not,
seek
it's
wealth
good
and
to remember.
prosperity, that we should be content only in times of abundance, that contentment comes from human effort alone, that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, including being content in all circumstances. D.
So, do you remember what was Philippians 4:11? I'll just scroll down to it to you. Dr. Samah told us about it. Give us the biblical or God's view. Is it in God's view, Samah, remember? Go down. Here. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. So we have a last question. I believe it wasn't mentioned in the presentation, but just try to guess it. Let me read it for you. Yes. So what is Saint Augustine's famous quote about? Restlessness, restless in God. Which one? It is A, yes. It is A. Yes. So Dr. Samah gives us a quote from Saint John the Chrysostom, and here is another one from Saint Augustine. So that's all what we have today, and we don't have any time to make any other things. So, but you have 1 page reading, and you have 4 minutes YouTube. You can read it or watch it during these 2 weeks periods to remember the relevant.
So what I'm trying to say that we started 15 minutes late, but we finished at the time. Okay. So let us will pray in a minute. We'll pray 1 minute. 1 minute. Okay. So let us pray before we leave and express our thanks to God. Okay.
In the name of the Father and Son and the Holy Spirit, one God. Lord Jesus Christ, we thank you, Lord, for everything, Lord. You've done so much for us, Lord. We know, Lord, that you have created us, you have given us, Lord, to be your children, Lord, to belong to you, Lord, and that you are our Father, Lord, and that no matter what, that you'll be there for us, Lord, and that you would be holding our hands. We ask you, Lord, to help us see this, Lord. Help us, Lord, not get distracted by the world around us, get distracted by other things that we do, Lord, and not see you, Lord, as the most important part of our life. Help us, Lord, that we would live a life that focuses on you, Lord, focus on how much you've done for us, Lord, and how much you care about us, Lord. I pray, Lord, for everyone who is here before you, Lord, and I pray for those who could not make it, Lord, that you would help us live a life where we have your grace, peace, Lord, and be, Lord, happy and grateful for our relationship, Lord. I pray, Lord, that you would help us, Lord, and give us the wisdom to guide other people, Lord, to know how amazing you are, Lord, and how amazing love you have for us. I pray for this with the intercession of St. Mary and the prayers of St. Mark.
Our Father, Our art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Forgive our trespass, or give our trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, give us. Okay. We'll send you instructions how to use the application and follow the instructions, and you get all the links to this lesson. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
وقفل المايك من جوه.